Hello, and thanks for stopping by. Several years ago, I made a video entitled London's Narrowest Alley and its Hidden Dark Past, which looked at Brydges Place, a long, grubby passage on the edge of Covent Garden, which provides a cut-through between St Martin's Lane and Chandos Place. At its narrowest point, Brydges Place is roughly 34 inches, approximately 86 centimetres, wide, so it really is quite a squeeze. Since making that video, however, a number of other remarkably cramped alleys have come to my attention, so I think it's time we went and visited them all, with a tape measure of course, to find out which one really is London's narrowest. I've measured each one at what I believe to be its narrowest accessible point, so the figures are approximate, but they should be more than close enough to settle the question. We'll begin not too far from Brydges Place with Lazenby Court, which is also in Covent Garden. It connects Floral Street to Rose Street and is tucked alongside the Lamb and Flag pub. There's even a side entrance to the Boozer located in the alley. The Lamb and Flag once had a rather gruesome nickname. It was known as the Bucket of Blood, due to the fact it was a popular venue for bare-knuckle boxing. Another violent connection is commemorated by this plaque above the pub, which notes an incident in 1679 when the poet John Dryden was badly beaten by a gang here. Rumour has it the thugs were hired by John Wilmot, the Earl of Rochester, who'd supposedly taken offence at being satirised in one of Dryden's poems. At 36 inches, 91 centimetres wide, Lazenby Court isn't quite as narrow as Brydges Place, although due to its busy location, it can get quite crowded and therefore claustrophobic along here. We'll head now to the historic Square Mile, which is famous for its many little alleys and passageways, the narrowest of which appears to be Bengal Court, measuring 35 inches, 89 centimetres across, at its tightest point. There's been a long alley here for centuries, and as you can see, its width varies. Originally, this passageway was called White Lion Alley, in reference to a local tavern, although rather confusingly, as this newspaper clipping from 1715 shows, the pub based here at that time was known as the Red Lion. White Lion Alley changed its name to Bengal Court in the 19th century, again in reference to a local pub. Speaking of pubs, the narrowest part of Bengal Court happens to run alongside the Georgian Vulture, a famous establishment which features in the Pickwick Papers, the very first novel by Charles Dickens. South of the Thames, on Bankside, is Cardinal Cap Alley, which lies between the Tate Modern and the Globe Theatre, and this is certainly a place Shakespeare would have been familiar with. Unfortunately, this secluded path has been gated since the 1990s, so it's no longer possible to walk along it, although you can see Cardinal Cap Alley in the 1967 documentary The London Nobody Knows. As you can see from the entrance, it's pretty tight. I make it 31 inches wide at this point, roughly 79 centimetres, which makes it quite a bit narrower than Brydges Place. Cardinal Cap Alley is squashed between a row of houses, and the one to the left bears a plaque, making the claim that Sir Christopher Wren lived here during construction of St Paul's Cathedral. Whilst this would certainly have been the ideal spot for keeping an eye on the project, this plaque is in fact telling a fib. Wren never lived here. Cheeky. In centuries past, this area was a lawless place, known for its many brothels, or stews as they were known in those days, one of which, the Cardinal's Cap, was once located at the end of this alley, hence the name. The Cardinal's Cap was, in turn, named after Cardinal Henry Beaufort, a fellow who liked to parade around Southwark in his fancy red hat. Beaufort, who lived between 1375 and 1447, was one of the all-powerful Bishops of Winchester, who for many years owned land and property around here, meaning they also profited from the local brothels. Make of that what you will. Although Cardinal Cap Alley is now a dead end, Its southern point was once connected to the very creepy sounding Skinmarket Place. And it's hard to imagine now, but in the 19th century, families once lived along here too, packed into cramped dwellings where diseases such as smallpox flourished. Back on the north side of the river, in Hoxton, is Shepherdess Walk, which is famous for being home to the Eagle, a pub that's referenced in the nursery rhyme Pop Goes the Weasel, the original line, of which there are variations, going up and down a city road, in and out the Eagle. That's the way the money goes, Pop Goes the Weasel. Further up, towards the northern end of Shepherdess Walk, is this tiny alley, which is very easy to miss. As you can see, it's sunk below ground, essentially making it a subway. This cramped passage is 34.5 inches, 88 centimetres, across at its narrowest point, so not much more than Brydges Place. It also has a low ceiling. If you're tall, you need to mind your head. This subterranean alley once led to a street called Turner's Place, although nowadays if you venture down here, you'll find it leads to Shepherdess Walk Park, in which you can see this wonderful collection of mosaics, which were created in 2012 in honour of the Olympic Games. So obscure is this passageway, it doesn't even have a name, so maybe we should come up with one. I'll start. I think it should be called Weasel Way N1, in reference to Pop Goes the Weasel, which I mentioned a moment ago. What other names would you suggest? Please be sure to write them down in the comments. A little further west, in Clerkenwell, is Crawford Passage, which isn't an alley as such, although there's a very tight squeeze in the middle, a pinch point which, it would appear, gives road marking crews something of a headache. From curb to curb, this part of Crawford Passage measures 40 inches, 102 centimetres across. So, double yellow lines or not, good luck trying to park here. Finally, we come to Emerald Court, which is located around the corner from Great Ormond Street and Lamb's Conduit Street. Emerald Court links Emerald Street to Rugby Street, named after the surrounding Rugby estate, which is connected to the famous Rugby School in Warwickshire. According to my tape measure, Emerald Court, which was once known as Green Street, is just 26.5 inches, 67 centimetres, across at its narrowest point, considerably less than Brydges Place and the other passageways we've seen, which I guess then makes Emerald Court, West Central 1, London's narrowest alley. That is, of course, unless you know of an even narrower one. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look at London's narrowest alleyways, and as always, I'd love to hear your own thoughts, and any suggestions of alleys, whether they be in London or elsewhere, which are equally narrow. If you do know of any such places, please be sure to note them down in the comments. If you haven't yet subscribed to Rob's London, then I'd appreciate it very much if you could please consider doing so, as this, along with clicking the bell icon to receive notifications, will ensure you don't miss out whenever I publish a new video. Plus, of course, it'd be wonderful to have you along. Clicking the hype button is a huge help too. And if you want to stay updated between videos, please check out the community tab. If you're feeling extra generous, you can also support my work with a tip, using either the YouTube thanks button, which can be found beneath the video, or via my Ko-fi account, which I'll link in the description. Any such donations are of course greatly appreciated, and they really do help go towards creating content. Anyway, on that note, thanks again for watching friends. Stay well, and please be sure to stay tuned.